Hi there, it's Kathy talking here, and I'm just going to get straight to it. So, on this little masterclass, I'm going to show you how to write sales emails using AI without you losing your voice or sounding like a robot. Now, I have been going all in to learn how to get ChatGPT, how to bend it to my will, to get it to do loads of the heavy lifting without compromising what I understand and know about copywriting, the psychology of sales, and also without compromising voice, values, and authenticity. And this is what I want to share with you today. Okay, so let's get going. So here's a few things that people have said to me about how they feel about email marketing and about how they can use AI to help them do it. So if this sounds like you, then you're probably in the right place and you'll get value out of what I'm teaching. So right now you've already got an email list. So if you're completely new, you haven't got a list, you haven't grown a list yet, then this isn't probably the best use of your time. But if you do have an email list and you're not using it to its full potential, then what I'm going to share is going to be super helpful. You want to use AI to cut your writing time way down, right? In a way that makes sense and is helpful and is not just frustrating because it's just spitting crap back at you. And like I said, there's loads of prompts out there. There's lots of people trying different ways. And if it's not done properly, using AI to help you write can actually be more time consuming or leave you with copy with content that feels like it doesn't sound like you and that you don't want to share. Like I said, I'm creating all sorts of resources to make sure that what we get from AI matches our voice and shortcuts his process. And you want to learn how to use AI effectively and again to add your human touch and your human voice. So it's not just creating copy that instinctively people can read and think that it was written by a robot. Sound good? So if all this sounds like you, then stick with me because I'm going to share some really cool things. Okay, so I've got a simple 3-step process. So step 1 is to pick a campaign. Okay, so before sitting down to write your emails or to get ChatGPT to write them for you, you want to get organized and create a specific sales campaign. This is different to any kind of ongoing weekly newsletters or nurture stuff that you're doing. This is when you're sitting down, you're like, you know what, I want to create something that's going to generate sales in a predictable way. So some ideas of the type of things and of the sequences and campaigns that I teach and help my clients to create. Things like flash sale, if you're running flash sales for some product or service, a beta sale. So if you've got a new idea and you want to launch it to paid testers, then you can run a beta sale. So I'm sure you've heard this before, is like sell it before you create it. Really good strategy. Highly recommend you do things that way. And having a carefully crafted email sequence to help support that is crucial to making sure you have enough people sign up to make it worth the while. So freebie to evergreen sequence. So if you are, and I'm sure you are, consistently growing your email list, you might be using a freebie of some sort or a lead magnet. And if so, you want to make sure that you've got a sequence set up so that people are coming in, getting your freebie, and then going through a simple sales sequence to make sure that from the very beginning, you're letting them know that there's ways to work with you. And there's going to be lots of different things. You can use this to get people on calls for one-to-one services. This can work for high ticket. It can work if you just want to put them through first low ticket sale. But if you're growing your list, then this sequence is one of the first ones that you should really have set up. Okay, so launch event sequences. So this is for things like if you run webinars, masterclasses, 5-day challenges, something that you're creating some sort of live launch, and off the back of it, you're selling your program. So there's email sequences that go into building that. This is where things started getting a bit more complicated. And for that reason, this is why ChatGPT becomes invaluable, because it can be overwhelming. And I know a lot of people might start this or want to do this, quickly get overwhelmed with all the moving pieces, all the emails you've got to write, and so shelve it. And so this kind of thing's great if you've got something that's you've already proven, either by running a beta, setting up something evergreen, put all that time and effort into this launch event so that you can get a big influx of sales. And then once it's done, you can do it over and over. Limited time offers. So this is kind of falling in the cracks there, that maybe it's not a flash sale, maybe it's not a beta sale. but this could be a great way for quick cash creation. So you can just come up with a off the cuff offer that's just going to be for a limited number of people or for a limited time. And having a sequence set up that you can just quickly run through ChatGPT, put it out there and make those sales. Super valuable, saves you time, gets money in the bank. Okay, so these are just some ideas of what I'm talking about when I'm talking about email campaigns or email sequences. Okay, so once you've picked your campaign, I'm going to take you through an example of one I did recently. Okay, so moving forward, I'm going to just pick this beta sales sequence. So this is one that I did recently. I'm going to take you through the process, showing you some of showing you the framework of it, and as well how I use ChatGPT to help me write it. Okay, so let's have a look. All right, so once you've decided the campaign that you want to do, the next step is to grab the copywriting framework. And so these are the things that I have within my programs that I share with my clients. So I'm just going to show you this example one. Okay, so this is the framework, and as you can see on the left, these are the sort of emails that you want to send out. Now, you don't have to do all of these. It can be longer, it can be shorter, but this is kind of the high-level overview of generally how you want to structure this sequence. And then what I do inside of these is give you the email, kind of the aim, what is it that you're trying to get out of it, some idea of how to time it, and then the structure that you want to follow in that particular email. And so then we repeat that for each email in the sequence. Now this is already super helpful, and this is how I've been helping people for a long time. But now with ChatGPT, we can take what's already this framework that I know works, and I've used this to build out how I interact with ChatGPT, and it's what shortcuts this process and makes it so powerful. And then I'm going to be showing you some of the examples from the sales sequence that I wrote. You can see it's here. So I use my own resources. If you're on my email list, you would have seen these emails as well. I'm talking the talk, walking the walk, all of that. So this, what I'm going to do is show you how ChatGPT helped me to structure these emails and write them for me, which I found super helpful because I did this on a week where I really wasn't feeling my best. And then this, being able to lean on these tools that I've got, allowed me to still make the offer, put it out there and make sales, even though I was operating at what felt like about 30%. Okay, and then step 3 in this process is following the prompts. So by this, I mean, if you're my client or in my program, you'll be following the prompts that I give you and that I've crafted that work really well. Now, if you've been playing around with ChatGPT, you might feel like it doesn't really do a very good job. That's because generic prompts give generic outputs. And in fact, even the more sophisticated prompts I've seen, they're still trying to shortcut the process. So there's this idea that you can just put one prompt in, and then the tool is going to be able to know everything it needs to know about your market, about your voice, about your offer, to be able to write something that's genuinely useful for you. But we need to do a little bit more. So you need prompts, and these are the prompts that I've crafted that help the AI truly understand your target market. So we do it in pieces. I have a kind of a process where I sort of layer stuff on top of each other so that you do end up with one very, very sophisticated prompt, but there is a bit of work you've got to do beforehand. The great bit is the great part of that, though, is that all the kind of pre-work stuff you do, you generally only have to do once. You can then create your Uber prompt, which is what I kind of create. And then when you've got that done, the future times that you want to write emails in a similar campaign, you just need to swap out a few pieces. So like anything, it's about front loading it with a little bit of work to reap the long-term benefits. So some of this pre-work is making sure that the AI truly understands your target market, making sure that the prompts are crafted to write a specific type of email each time. So in our example, if we're looking at like a 10 email sequence, each of those emails has got a specific reason for being and a specific it's a specific type of email that we're asking it to write for us. And so all of that needs to be incorporated into the interaction that you're having with ChatGPT. And then you need to continually teach the AI about your voice and how to match it. So this is an ongoing process. And sometimes you have to pull it back in line and just remind it. But the great thing is that it does learn, it gets better and better at it, and it just becomes, it doesn't, it just takes a few iterations generally in each specific conversation to get it to start really matching your voice. And I'm going to show you some examples of what that looks like, how that sounds, to hopefully get you excited about the potential. So how to make sure that it sounds like you. So I'm going to take you through 2 approaches that I use step by step. So the first approach I use is called voice of customer research. So just briefly, this is something as copywriters we do anyway. And it's something I've been teaching for a long time. So essentially, it's about getting language from your audience by doing calls or paying attention to what people are saying and creating a collection of language and of snippets of the different ways that people articulate the problems they're having or the transformations that they want to achieve. And then you use that language and you plug it back into your marketing so that you're reflecting what your customers or what your audience is saying and thinking. You reflect it back to them. And this is a really powerful way to make sure your copy and the voice of your copy is a good match to your audience. And this is important pre-AI tools because it can be quite common, I see it a lot for business owners, to all kind of sound like each other because we just kind of pull into our brains what we hear, and then what comes in is what goes out, right? And so voice of customer research has always been a great way to make sure that stuff you're writing sounds unique and is really dialed into what your audience is thinking. It's a real kind of like mind reading technique that makes copy super powerful. So this is a proven copywriting approach. It's how it's been done for a long time. And so we can use that and plug that into ChatGPT to help it to then write copy that in the same way it's going to then start spitting out, in this case, emails that sound authentic and is really dialed into what your audience is thinking. Okay, so what you're looking at here is some voice of customer research that I did. So this is stuff I've had from people in my audience and what they've told me about emails. And so for this example that I'm going to show you, what I took was this piece here, and this piece here. Okay. If I was writing this from scratch, I would take this and weave it into the copy. But what I've done is given this to ChatGPT and it's weaved it into the copy for me. Okay, so let's look at a typical before. So this is before I layered on this voice of customer. This is what it gave me. And it's not bad, it's following a framework that I've given it. But just reading it, it's like, this just isn't how I would write. And it just seems, it's just got that kind of ChatGPT feel to it. It's a bit so generic. It's using phrases like, I don't know, teeming with potential. Like, I wouldn't say that. Brimming with eager subscribers. It's trying to be creative, but it's kind of overdoing it a bit. So, this is okay. This could be a good starting point. I could use this, but I wanted it to get even closer. So I added in the custom, that language that I got from my audience, and this is what it gave me instead. Bear in mind, I'm also training on my voice. So phrases, I'm going to use a different color. Phrases like, you're brilliant at what you do. That word brilliant I use all the time. Can you see how it's coming in? You're fine with the tech. But when it comes to email marketing, you're caught in the WTF, do I write every week whirlwind? So let me just take you back. It's taken this, so it hasn't just literally shoved it in. It's taken it, it's done what we would do in our own brains. It's taken this as the input and it's rewritten it into something different. The panic sets in, am I right? So this is something like I use little questions at the end of my paragraphs. Another thing that I noticed it did here, picture yourself, coffee in hand, sat at your desk. So that phrase, sat at your desk, is a very British English way of saying it. It's grammatically kind of incorrect because you should say you're sitting at your desk. But this is kind of phrasing that we use over here, and it's put it in there. And when I saw that, I was actually pretty impressed. So anyway, so this is a pretty good, I much prefer that. So that initial one was okay. This is way better. And in fact, this is pretty close. And now I'm going to show you the final email that I sent out so you can kind of see any tweaks that I did, and there weren't a huge amount. All right, so you're brilliant at what you do. But when it comes to email marketing, you're caught in that WTF do I write whirlwind. So let's have a look. So I've just edited it down a bit. Now, the thing that's different about how I write and how it's done this is it's done, that's all one big long sentence, right? There you can see that. Whereas when I write, I chop it up into shorter sentences. And as time went on and I kept training in that, it started writing a bit more like that to mimic my voice. But still, the essence of it's there. And I mean, that just takes seconds, doesn't it? Okay, so then this piece, the panic, overwhelm, can't be askedness sets in. And your email list goes neglected and underutilized, pushed to the bottom of the priority pile, right? That's what I sent out. And here it is, the panic sets in and your email list goes neglected and underutilized, pushed to the bottom of the priority pile, practically word for word. And all I did, you can see, is I added in this bit. And that's just adding a bit of personality into it. And again, I can keep training the tool. You know, there's going to be some bits that, and this is the human bit, you know, you can always add your own flair to it. And you should be, you know, like I say, this is getting you 80 to sort of 80% there, and then you add in the bits that really make it your own. Next bit here, I wrote. Now the problem, what had happened is that this draft that it wrote, it was kind of talking about this idea of like, what do I write next? Is it kind of in the context of writing like a weekly email or like trying to come up, you know, with content for your list. Whereas what I wanted to focus on was talking specifically about creating, you know, specific campaigns. So instead of asking it to rewrite it again, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to just put this bit in, okay? That clarity in my own head maybe wasn't there in the prompt. And that's part of what I love about this process is that it kind of gets your, by going through this, by having ChatGPT help you in the sense of like it's doing most of the writing for you, then it's the ideas and the angles and the stuff that make all the difference. That the brain power you've got left over can just go into that stuff that's really, really important. Okay, so let's continue. All right, so here, now that phrase has come in, am I right? So I've used that. So again, if we go back up, just taking a look. Remember this piece here? So I've grabbed it, I've just moved it to a different part of the email. All right, so now I've got, now imagine a different scenario. Picture yourself, coffee in hand, sat at your desk and grinning from ear to ear. So if you go back up, now imagine a different scenario. Picture yourself, coffee in hand, sat at your desk and grinning from ear to ear. So I took it and I used that. But then when I read over it, I was like, yeah, it's a little bit weird. And again, you can see how I just use spacing. That's one of the main, you know, differences that I've done. But I was kind of reading it and going, like, nobody really sits there grinning from ear to ear, right? That's kind of a weird expression, but I still like the sentence. So I just added this piece in. So this is me. Yeah. And again, just adding my own flair to it, my own personality, taking what ChatGPT's given me and just kind of making it more my own. Okay. And again, this piece I wrote because, I'm trying to highlight it because again, this email, it was sort of focusing on this idea of like trying to work out what to say. And that wasn't really the focus that I wanted. So I just left that, wrote my own version of it. But again, that's fine. It only takes a minute or two. And then the next bit, what's changed? Oops. So the next bit, what's changed? So I did take that. What's changed? And this thing, you've cracked the email marketing code. Nah, didn't like that. Bit of a cheeky, humble brag. What's changed? You've worked with me. You're no longer just making things up as you go along, or worse, leaving your email list gathering digital dust, and took that from there as well. So yeah, hopefully you can see that this this is straight out of ChatGPT. I've written 80% of this email for me. I would say possibly 90% with a few tweaks. And this went out to my list and made sales of my product. Okay, so then the next way that you can get it to really hone in on your voice is to train it in your voice. So we can use voice of customer snippets to help it write stuff that's more authentic, and also you can train it in your voice. And like I said, sometimes you have to kind of rein it in and remind it, but it does keep learning and it's an ongoing process. Okay, so let's take a look at what that kind of looks like in practical terms. So I had using some of my sort of voice, so using some of my voice priming prompts at the beginning of the conversation, I get ChatGPT to kind of get a sense of my voice for tone, language, and vocabulary. Then I give it a name, and then each time I'm asking it to write something for me, I'm saying use this, and what I've called is Kathy's voice when it's writing the email. And so this is what it gave me for this particular. So this was like a last minute email that I'd asked it to write. So here we've got tick tock, the clock is ticking, and I wanted to give you a nudge, a friendly one, I promise. You've got about 4 hours left to grab the fast action bonus. So in the prompt, I'd kind of given it this information. And you can see here that I used most of that. And I'd actually moved this around, and so did it the night before rather than in 4 hours. But, you know, pretty much that copy is what I used. And I really like this, actually. I'll give you a nudge, a friendly one, I promise. I thought it was a really nice way of putting it. This piece I put in myself. That's just the details. Now, if we go back up here, now so this was a big long email. I haven't put a whole lot in it because what I'd realized is I hadn't given it the exact information that I wanted. So I hadn't quite nailed what I was wanting from this email. So then what I did, just skip through, is gave it this prompt and said, like, rewrite this email. And here's some, basically saying, here's some information I gave it to you. I forgot to give it to you last time. So I gave it these 3 points. That's the only time this particular bonus will be available. They've got 3 months to use it. And also that having the sales page is an important part of having a sequence. So kind of the reason why I've included this bonus, like there's method. It's not just any old bonus. It's one that kind of makes sense and matches into the whole ethos of the program. And so once I'd given this extra information to ChatGPT, then it gave me this copy. So we've got here. So you see, having a persuasive and compelling sales page, all of this. So all of this I kept. Yeah. So let's just have a look at my email. You go, having a persuasive and compelling sales page is as vital to your marketing recipe as a fabulous email sequence. I think pretty much word for word. I think I took off UC. And like I said, I like to put, I don't have big long paragraphs like that. I'll just put some extra, what do you call them, like returns in, which seems like a small thing, but it can really just change the voice and the way of reading it. So imagine crafting a knockout email campaign only to lead your hot to a lackluster sales page. Ouch. So can you see, just by having that on a new line, it doesn't get lost. It kind of makes it jump out. But you know, the words are there. Okay, so literally it did it for me just because I gave it that extra bit of information that was missing in the previous prompt. And here we go. That's where the sales page shortcut comes in. So that's where the sales page shortcut comes in. So that is in here. Okay. And then, so this exclusive system, masterfully designed by yours truly, not only saves you from sales page stress, but equips you to do it all over again, alone, effortlessly. And here's what I wrote. I've created this exclusive system, masterfully designed by yours truly, #obs. So just with some parentheses, a little funny hashtag. Again, I've just added that extra little bit of flavor to make it slightly more my voice. But you know, what it gave me was pretty good. And I think I just edited this bit a bit. So not only saved it, equips you to do it all over again. So I don't like the word equip. So I changed that to it helps you to write your sales page in record time. And then I added this bit in. Okay. And then also hand everything over to you so you can do it again, alone, effortlessly. So again, I took it, but I've just changed a little bit the formatting and the layout. I decided to add a testimonial in there to support what I was saying. And then the rest of the email is pretty much this. We hop on a 60-minute Zoom call, So things like this, not too shabby, hey. And it's even started, seeing how it's like, it's put that in caps, like that is how I write. So if we look at it, see, we hop on a 60-minute Zoom call where I draft your sales page for you. So because I'm training it, each time it gets closer and closer to matching my voice each time I ask it to write an email. It's amazing. It really, really does work. It's really, really clever. So anyway, so that's it. I won't, I think you can see for yourself. Not too shabby. That came out from ChatGPT, messaging niggles. So all these lovely little turns of phrase. Repeatable system that you can use anytime you fancy. So this is all I would say in my voice. I'm, happy that it is. So are you convinced? Can you see? Do you feel like that you now understand how ChatGPT can sound like you? It can be authentic, relatable. It can match your audience's desires and still write sales emails. You can have both. It can be salesy and it can still sound like you. And you can get ChatGPT to do 80% of the heavy lifting for you, maybe 90%. I don't know if I can put in math, this isn't maths, but, hopefully what I've helped you to see today is that it can do the vast majority of the writing for you, as long as you use my methods. No, but using the way that I've structured the prompts, the frameworks, the way I've put it all together. So if you want my help setting this up for your business, somewhere around this video, there will be a call to action for you. There'll be an offer that you can take me up on. So have a look, and if it's of interest, click the button, and hopefully I'll see you soon.